Well, it's been quite a while since I talked about this game. I mean, it's been like nearly 3 years since I've discussed this game. Time flies, honestly. I guess that's what happens naturally when you're nearly 30 years old. But that ain't what this video is about. This video is going to be discussing about the latest trailer for Wreckreation in the THQ Nordic showcase that took place yesterday. I know lots of people who watched it are really excited for the game, including myself. But there are others who are saying that the wait was just not worth it and their excitement for it has been dropped because all it was pretty much the same thing they've been showing in their shorts on their Facebook and Twitter. Do I agree with that particular fact? Well, not necessarily. However, I will agree that the trailer was extremely short, with the focus this time being the gameplay, car-on-car combat, damage models, and physics. And then the usual wish list now part at the end. I'm gonna be real with you guys. My expectations are really low. Like, just slightly above ground level. I wasn't expecting much in all honesty, but others apparently had their hopes and expectations like all the way up to the moon or something along those lines. Well above mine, for sure. Why do I believe that, though? This is what I think. I'm not sure if you're sick and tired of it at this point, like me, but all these people who are so negative in the racing game community who go as far as to advise against supporting the developers for a game you've been looking forward to is starting to get out of control. I personally think that lots of people are really tired of all the recent racing games we've been getting, believing that they aren't turning out as good as they thought, and because of their below average or poor experiences with them, they go out of their way to try and break others down and tell everyone to not support the devs, or because of a game from a developer that one or multiple people have a vendetta against, they're extremely stubborn to give the devs themselves another chance with another product of theirs. You know, stuff along those lines. And me personally, I can't let what anyone says negatively about a racing game stop me from actually getting and playing it at all. It's the golden rule when it comes to being interested in the racing games you play, get, and love. Am I right on that? And I think the reason why some people aren't willing to accept new modern arcade racing games at this day and age is because, well, lots of people really want a Burnout 3 Takedown remake slash remaster. To be as fair as I possibly can, I'm not sure why, because, well, Burnout Paradise Remastered was an extremely lazy copy-paste job, just with graphical updates due to Stellar Entertainment's incompetence. Despite that, people still want a remake slash remaster of Burnout 3 Takedown. And I believe that because they want it so badly, they think about the whole game in 4K definition with much more highly detailed cars, updated liveries, online play again. It raises their expectations and hopes up to a level where they cannot accept anything less just because they want it to be a reality so badly. The depressing truth is that because it's a PS2 and OG Xbox only game with no PC version, it'll be intricate, if not impossible, to even get the experience to be the same. My point being is that when it comes to anything Burnout related at this day, age, and generation of gaming, perhaps even now, we can't expect the gaming industry to bend in our favor just because of the high demand for something like that. Except for like the occasional douchebag who makes stuff up on a silver platter about a quote-unquote new game in the series just to get you hyped and then they give the middle finger at the last second. That's just speculation on my part because I tend to see that in a few places. I suppose the only other thing I was truly expecting was more footage on Wreckreation in the trailer. Honestly, I thought we'd get a teensy bit more, but it's better than nothing at the very least. I would have It would have been absolutely insulting if they went around a full year and still not showcasing anything new. So even they knew they had to show something in the THQ Nordic showcase. And even some are still disappointed with the Wreckreation trailer that we got. Personally, the game's open world with more landmarks and newly explored off-road sections, I'm actually quite interested in that. Some people are saying that the open world itself looks bland, dull, and uninspiring. Okay, but isn't that what the game's setting was this whole damn time ever since the start of its development as Dangerous Driving 2 for the past 5 years? So at least there's some places in it we haven't seen. My concern is that the whole car combat system of the trailer was still not quite polished enough. It still looked reminiscent of Dangerous Driving. The car combat system in that game was alright, but then as time went on, the problems with that became more and more glaring, where it was a cakewalk to take down other drivers. You could put in the tiniest effort, and you'll take them down very easily, and it was extremely rare that the other drivers would try to take you down as well, if at all. I'm hoping Wreckreation's car combat system is not a repeat of that. It looks more acceptable for now, because it is technically still a work in progress. However, one question only remains from this. How are they going to improve upon that? We won't really know for sure until the game is released whenever, but as of this time, it's somewhat improved by the looks of it, and it has my attention. But another thing that I noticed some people found disappointing is the crazy and wacky track layouts with loops and smashable objects instead of it only being a pure 100% Burnout style game. I am actually going to take Three Fields' side on this one. The first thing that came to my mind when I noticed all the crazy track layouts was Hot Wheels Unleashed. I mentioned this in my previous video about Wreckreation, and I'm going to use it as a reference here. That game had pretty crazy track designs itself, as well as its sequel. Milestone did an awesome job for those games. Perhaps Three Fields Entertainment got some inspiration from those games and decided to put their own spin on that here. Just because it has all these crazy loops, corkscrews, and big jumps doesn't mean the experience is going to be shallow by default. It all comes down to the creativity, direction, execution. There's quite a lot to do with the track builder mode, if you get what I mean. It really all comes down to their capabilities and how they go about it, I suppose is the right way to put it. Details, you get the point. Just because it has wacky track layouts and a track builder does not mean the game is guaranteed to suck. Once again, we won't know until release. Now, here's something that I was hoping that should have happened, though I'm kind of bummed that it didn't, and that would be the absence of the Formula DD cars. Okay, I'm actually quite disappointed that they didn't do that because while the Formula DDs in Dangerous Driving were functional and drivable at best, battling them was a completely different story. They had super awkward hitboxes and can be flung in different directions when hit in specific spots of their chassis. Maybe they're saving those for when the game actually is released because the game is in its final stages of development. Not sure if the sedans and SUVs will be playable vehicles, but the coupe, supercar, and hypercar will appear in the game, so they're probably showing the basic stuff for the time being and not giving away too much because the game is in its final stages. Now, I will point out that the general art design of the game still has that Dangerous Driving / Danger Zone style to it, but that's just the style you have to adapt to when it comes to Three Fields Entertainment. They do have more cars that keep that theme going all around, so I won't knock points off that. It looks good. At least with the shorts and what we got in the trailer, the game looks and plays way better than Dangerous Driving. Perhaps we won't get a glitchy, unpolished, half-baked game this time around. So far, those aspects at least look pretty solid. Credit is where it's due there. But then again, it's only just a 42-second showcase trailer, and any places where they had bugs and glitches happen, they probably didn't want to showcase those. So we have to take it for granted. With all this in mind, it's very understandable why Three Fields was not happy with how some of Dangerous Driving's parts were and wanted to start over to make a much better experience overall, but now with THQ Nordic tagging along for the ride. Because, well, let's be honest here, Dangerous Driving was a rushed game for sure, and the problems show every time the game boots up, even with the patches. It is still an unstable game. So hopefully with them putting more time and focus into Wreckreation, I'd rather have them work out all the problems that plagued Dangerous Driving previously to make the whole experience much better overall. Or else we're going to end up having a repeat of the same game. Trust me, nobody wants that. To close this video out, I need to say something. Just be cautiously optimistic going forward if you're still unsure of this title. Concentrate on the games you guys are currently looking forward to. Once Wreckreation is released later on, inevitably, you can always take a look at footage on social media. And if the game is better than Dangerous Driving in your opinion, think for yourself and decide if you'll get it or not. I mean, that's the kind of independence you have for that, right? Yes, I understand. It's painful to wait for this game to release. That is the hardest part. I know it from experience. I don't like waiting for anything as well, because so much of your time is used up just waiting on the day when it eventually releases. But honestly, I'd rather have Three Fields Entertainment take the time they need to get this game finished up and polished, rather than taking like 7 months or so to create a game that doesn't hold a candle to the standards of Burnout, and the next thing that happens, we get a game that somehow runs worse than Dangerous Driving. Again, nobody wants that. Even then, while the Wreckreation 2025 showcase wasn't quite the best to wrap up development on, I wouldn't go so far as to say it was horrible, nor would I say that it was 100% a waste of time, a disappointment, or what have you, because at least we got more footage shown from the THQ Nordic channel. Even if the shorts on TFE's Facebook and Twitter looked better than the actual trailer. It's better than nothing, I suppose. At least there's more stuff on Wreckfest too, if that suits your fancy. But hey, look on the bright side. At least we didn't go through a second year in a row with absolutely nothing. And because they've been showing a lot of shorts lately on their social media, that can only mean one thing. The release date for this game is near. We may not have a definitive release date yet, but I do feel that it is close by. Finally, the wait is over. Almost.